Thank you for always taking care of Daisy and Annabelle,
my husband said as he prepared lunch for both of us. However, he had a trick up his sleeve and I lost consciousness shortly after starting to eat. The next thing I knew, I was in a hospital bed. Apparently, I survived. When I collapsed, my husband said,
"I'm finally free."
I thought he was going to kill me. My name is Vivian, and I'm 33 years old. I have a husband named Ashton who is 2 years older than me, and we have twin daughters named Daisy and Annabelle who are 5 years old. We're a family of 4. Since my husband and I both work, our daughters go to daycare. They have personalities that are very similar to mine. They're strong-willed and speak their minds, but they don't bully others. They're the type of kids who can't leave a friend alone when they're alone. They're also a bit bigger than other kids, so they're natural leaders. I think I'm a pretty straightforward person too. I'm often relied on at work, and I think I'm a bit of a big sister. On the other hand, my husband, the only man in the family, is a bit timid. I often see him being pushed around by our daughters when they ask him to take them somewhere on holidays. However, it doesn't seem like he minds being pushed around like that. I think he just wants to fulfill our cute daughter's wishes. I thought our family of 4 would continue to live together happily and cheerfully, but my husband has been changing little by little. It started with something small. His overtime work increased a little. Until now, my husband had been avoiding overtime work to spend time with our daughters. Since I have to work overtime, I used to ask him to pick up our daughters from daycare when he came home on time. However, he started working overtime once or twice a week, which was a change from before. I understand that it can't be helped if it's work. I managed to adjust my schedule and started picking up our daughters from daycare. However, our daughters were a little unhappy about it. Actually, when my husband picked them up, he bought them sweets about half the time on the way back. They complained that they couldn't get sweets anymore because I was picking them up. Well, no matter how much they complain, I'm not as sweet as my husband, so I don't intend to buy them sweets. With this kind of life continuing, my husband's overtime work is set to increase a little more. The number of days won't change, but the hours will be longer. I don't know what kind of work my husband does since we work for different companies. I couldn't bring myself to blame my husband, who looked apologetic, and had no choice but to accept it. However, after living like this for 2 months, I became curious about what was going on. So I decided to ask my husband directly. "Hey, it's been 2 months since you started working overtime. Isn't there an end in sight for your work? Can you tell me what kind of work you do?" My husband replied,
"Vivian wouldn't understand even if I told you. I'm just doing my job to the best of my ability. Why are you blaming me like that?"
He said this in a pretty strong tone, which I didn't expect. I know it's work, but I just wanted to know what kind of work it is. I understand that it's work. But Daisy and Annabelle are lonely. It would be nice if you could come home early once in a while. They seem to be looking forward to you picking them up from daycare. My husband replied,
"Those 2 aren't looking forward to me picking them up. They're just interested in the sweets I buy them. They're not lonely."
I was speechless. I never expected my husband to say something like that. Taking advantage of the fact that I didn't answer, my husband finally said,
"I'm going to be busy with work from now on."
It seemed like he wanted to end the conversation. I was so sad about my husband's change that I wondered if his personality had changed because of the overtime work. Another month passed. My husband started working overtime almost every week. On days when I couldn't finish work, I had no choice but to put our daughters in extended daycare. As a result, their bedtime became later, which I knew wasn't good for their health. But work wouldn't wait. And then my husband started going out alone even on holidays. Until recently, he would respond to our daughter's requests, but now he avoids them by saying things like, "I feel like going out alone today," or "I have to work on my day off today," or "I'm tired today, so please be quiet." Our daughters look obviously lonely.
Is Daddy busy today too? Won't he play with Annabelle and me?
When she says something like this, I get sad too. So I started taking them out more. I also borrowed my parents' help to make up for the reduced time I spent with my husband. I started to think that my husband's behavior had changed too much. I began to think that this was a family crisis. And then the incident happened. It was a holiday. Our daughters were being taken care of by my parents. My husband was at home on a rare holiday and said to me,
"I'll make lunch today, so let's eat together."
It had been months since my husband cooked for me. I think it was before he started working overtime. It's rare. I couldn't be happy about it, so I said this.
It's a thank you for always taking care of Daisy and Annabelle.
He started making lunch. He said he could do it alone, so he didn't let me into the kitchen. And in no time, he finished making beef stew for lunch. When he was ready, he called me to the dining room.
"Okay, it's ready. Let's eat together."
He said it brightly. Even though it was lunchtime, he took out wine.
"Daisy and Annabelle aren't here today, so how about some wine?"
Although I thought it was really unusual, I decided to have some wine that would go well with the beef stew. Cheers! And so the meal began. The beef stew my husband made was very delicious and went well with the wine. As I ate a little more, I began to feel sick. Oh. What happened? At the same time, I started to feel sleepy. Was I already drunk? I'm usually good with alcohol. But the sickness and sleepiness only got worse, and I ended up losing consciousness. Just before I lost consciousness, I heard my husband say,
"I'm finally free!"
The next day, I woke up in an unfamiliar place. My father-in-law was the first to notice that I had woken up.
"Vivian, are you awake? Don't worry. You're in the hospital."
Hospital? Why am I here? My questions were not answered. Then I saw my mother-in-law crying in the corner of the hospital room. What's wrong? When I spoke up, my mother-in-law approached me with a start.
"Vivian, I'm really sorry about Ashton."
It seemed that my husband was involved in my hospitalization. But he wasn't here. Where is Ashton now? When I asked, my in-laws' faces clouded over a little.
"I'm sorry, but after Ashton told us that you had collapsed, he disappeared without saying anything. We've been asking around since yesterday, but we don't know where he is."
That's what my mother-in-law said. Was my husband gone? I had a vague idea of where he might be. But what about my condition? My father-in-law answered that question.
"It seems that there were sleeping pills and pesticides mixed in with yesterday's lunch. Vivian ate it and got sick. And the wine you drank with it doubled the effect of the sleeping pills."
Did my husband use pesticides?
Thanks to the early discovery, we were able to treat it quickly.
That's what my father-in-law said. Why did my husband contact my in-laws even though he had put pesticides in my food himself? I forgot to ask that. He must have wanted to kill me, judging from his words about being free. There were many mysteries about my husband's words and actions. My parents took care of my daughters while I was unconscious. That's why they didn't come to the hospital room. I finally understood that. I stayed in the hospital for one more day for tests and was discharged the next day. I was surprised that I was so energetic despite having eaten pesticides. My parents-in-law accompanied me with apologetic faces. I felt more sorry for them than they did for me. After I was discharged, I went to see how my daughters were doing. Even though I hadn't seen them for 3 days, it felt like a long-awaited reunion. And I asked them to stay at my parents' house for a little longer. I had to head to the battlefield. The battlefield was an apartment. I rang the intercom with determination. Then I heard a man's voice from inside. It was a voice I recognized.
Yes, who is it?
It's me. Vivian. I answered, and there was a loud noise from inside. After a while, the door opened, and my husband came out. His face was pale.
Vivian, why are you here?
That was my husband's first word. A wife should know where her cheating husband is. I said it loudly on purpose. Then my husband panicked.
Can you speak a little quieter?
He said that. Why don't you let me in? I want to meet your mistress. I said it without lowering my voice. It was a bit unfair, but it was a strategy one had to use to talk inside. My husband reluctantly let me into the room. I won my strategy. The woman inside should be named Cecilia. The reason I ended up in this apartment and why I know this woman's name is that I had a private investigator investigate it. Cecilia was a woman who looked good in a dress, unlike me, who always wore pants. This was the first time we met, but I knew from the investigation report that she had a neat personality. Well, I don't know if someone with a neat personality is really neat when they're cheating on someone else's husband. But she looked cute, and her personality was the opposite of mine. My husband asked me with a pale face.
Are you okay?
Oh, right. I forgot. My husband made me drink pesticides. And sleeping pills too. What was the meaning of these sleeping pills? I had a lot of questions to ask. I'm fine. I had a thorough examination and everything's okay. But why did you try to kill me? You called your mother early on, but you wanted to kill me? And what was the reason for the sleeping pills? I don't understand your behavior at all. Then my husband muttered something.
I didn't try to kill you. Well, maybe I thought about it at first, so I gave you sleeping pills to delay the discovery. But I got scared, so I couldn't call an ambulance, but I called my mother. If you were found, I thought my mother would take you to the hospital.
I see. So you ran away here? I said it sarcastically. But it was true.
I'm sorry. I might have thought about killing you at first, but I didn't do it, did I? So can you forgive me?
Huh? I sighed heavily. I couldn't forgive him for trying to kill me. Besides, only with such a cheap apology. I want to know what you wanted to do after trying to kill me. Did you want to remarry Cecilia, who is there? And what did you mean when you said you became free on the day you put pesticides in my food? What does that mean? I asked him a series of questions. My husband answered slowly while looking flustered.
I was going to remarry Cecilia if you were dead. I was tired. I couldn't keep up with the power of you, Daisy, and Annabelle. That's why I said I became free.
I see. So that's what it was. Was my weak-willed husband really cornered? But he was cheating on me? You cheated on me and then you're saying we cornered you? What are you talking about? You made an escape route for yourself. Who came up with this plan? If you say you came up with it because you were cornered, I can believe you, but if Cecilia is involved even a little bit, I won't forgive you. Then Cecilia spoke up.
I came up with this plan. I couldn't stand to see Ashton being cornered like that. So if you won't forgive him, then I'm also.
Was she trying to feel like a supportive wife? But she had made a very dangerous plan. So in the end, you two came up with the plan together. I understand. I recorded this testimony, so I'll file a complaint with the police. If you have anything to say in defense of your infidelity, please do. I'll record it on this voice recorder and let my lawyer listen to it later. Let's see which one of us can recommend divorce more advantageously. I said that and took out the voice recorder that I had been recording until now.
I got tired of the busy daily life, and then Cecilia from the same company started to look very cute to me. I knew it was wrong. I should have divorced Vivian before cheating. I'm really sorry. And I don't need Daisy and Annabelle's custody. I want to live quietly with Cecilia from now on.
He apologized, but he still cheated on me, and he didn't care about our daughters. Then you'll pay for the infidelity compensation and Daisy and Annabelle's child support every month. Even if you say you're giving up custody, they're still your children. Paying child support is your duty as a parent. Then,
I know that. I just don't want to live with them. But I think they're cute. I'll pay child support, so I want to see them occasionally.
you can't do that. You're going to cheat because you hate Daisy and Annabelle, right? That's too selfish of you. Well, I'll explain this to Daisy and Annabelle and let you see them if they want to, but... My husband slumped down. And then I said, let's decide the amount of compensation for the divorce through a lawyer later. And as for the matter of you trying to kill me, I'm not going to settle or anything, so you better pay for your crime. And the compensation for the pain you caused me will be added to the compensation for the affair, so be prepared. My husband seemed to lower his head even more. Then I turned to Cecilia. You've been acting cool since a while ago, but you're going to be arrested by the police too. And I'm going to make you pay the compensation for the affair too, so you better be prepared. Cecilia had no choice but to slump down too. The rest of the story. My husband and Cecilia were taken away by the police after I submitted the complaint and the voice recorder data. I think they will probably be arrested for attempted murder. They won't be able to avoid going to prison once the sentence is confirmed. Before that, I divorced my husband. The compensation I received from my ex-husband and Cecilia was quite a large amount. And the monthly child support my ex-husband had to pay for 2 children was $800 a month. How hard it must be to pay this amount while paying back the debt of compensation that he and Cecilia chose. By the way, my ex-in-laws were completely on my side and they said they cut off their ties with their son. This means that my ex-husband has no one to rely on anymore. Well, I hope he remarries Cecilia or something and keeps paying the child support. As for me, I decided to go back to my parents' house with Daisy and Annabelle. It took a little longer to commute from my parents' house, but I still managed to make it, so I decided to do my best. I told Daisy and Annabelle the reason for divorcing my ex-husband as much as they could understand. And then I asked them if they still wanted to see their father, and they both said they didn't want to see him anymore, so I decided not to let them see him. I thought they must have felt something when he tried to kill me once. I hope I can live with my 2 daughters and give them enough love with my parents from now on.
How did you like this story? Please also subscribe to my channel. See you in the next video.